Hi there, welcome to Let's Talk Tottenham. Oh dear, another loss. Coupled with Arsenal winning an unlikely game, and now top four is bang up for grabs again. We got Brentford away, which is not going to be easy at all. And the Christian Eriksen factor, you just know he's going to do something in that game. But we have enough to win it, and Arsenal have Man United and plenty more besides. Two great guests. Hopefully Mark will be joining as well. But first off, Justin, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you very much for having me on.
That's all right. I'm just going to set something up on my work computer. Say that I'm at lunch. Yeah. Sorry. Right. Okay. And Haas, welcome back. You're on the channel that I was on, Tommy's channel
Thanks,
on
Chris.
Monday, wasn't it? Yeah. How you doing?
Not too bad, thank you. Yeah. Trying to piece together what's happening this week so far.
An audio artisan in the chat. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for watching. Everyone else in the chat and watching, thank you so much. Please hit the like. Please hit the subscribe. Really helps the channel. So hit that notification bell. That'll give you a notification. Completely free without you having to do anything when we go live. So let's crack on. Hass, I know you've only got a limited amount of time. But yeah, so we'll start off with Justin. It's a must-win game now, right? This Brentford game. It was a game that, I mean, every game you could say is must-win, but even more so now, especially if, and we'll come to this a bit later on, Arsenal do beat Man United at lunchtime, because then we're in fifth by the time we kick off. But, I mean, what are your thoughts on the game? I'm slightly worried that we might come to live to regret that Brighton game and not turning up. I hope I'm proved wrong. But what are your thoughts about this game now?
Well, I'm hoping. I think it might be a slightly different game. I think one of the things, and I've talked to a few people who are Brighton fans, and what they saw was a very, very well thought out game plan that Brighton had come up with, which was to stifle the match. Slow the game down. If they were down, normally might be down for 30 seconds, they'd be down for 2 minutes. They would, just everything that they could to very much disrupt Tottenham's flow. And Tottenham allowed them. They didn't try and do anything different, which was particularly disappointing after the Aston Villa game, where they actually tried something different rather than trying to keep it to feet. They were trying long balls. They were doing different things. They didn't do that at all, and I think the reason that this game will be different is because Brentford won't want to do that. They don't do that. Let's be honest. They don't, particularly at home. We've seen they're a very sort of almost play a little bit like Aston Villa will, that they will want to be sort of, man marking. They'll want to be sort of aggressive in their press. They'll want to get back on the ball, and they will want to be very forward thinking. And the other thing as well that we've got to be probably a little bit wary of is they've got a plan A and a plan B. Plan A very much is a case of that Ivan Toney is their focal point, and they try and get it through to him to push the play forward. But if that doesn't work, they've got a superstar in Christian Eriksen. So I don't think they'll want to play the same way as Brighton. I don't think that's in their nature to do that. To be fair, I didn't think it was Brighton's nature. I've seen a lot of them, and I didn't think that they would do that. But it worked. Maybe Brentford might think the same, but hopefully they won't. What we just have to make sure of is that it, as Conte said, I think a few weeks ago, about this is a cup final. That we had 7 cup finals at the time. We're now down to 6 cup finals, and we've got to go out there, because although it is a very small ground, Brentford, I think it holds about 15,000. They're going to be up for it. They're going to be on our backs. It's almost going to be like when Tottenham had to go to the Dell for Southampton, a very small ground, but very much a ruckus sort of atmosphere, and they're going to want to get on top of Spurs very quickly, very early on. So they need to be up for it, which is, I suppose, in a way, hopefully will work for us, because, as I said, not playing the way that Brighton did maybe will suit us better and will allow the plan A and hopefully plan B, because God knows where that was at Brighton. That completely went missing. It really, really did. So, yeah, different game, but we've seen games like this where we've completely crumbled this season. So, you know, you can look at the Burnley game where we stunk the place out and they got the win. So it's going to be tough, but I think it will suit us playing Brentford as long as they don't do what Brighton did against us last Saturday.
Yeah, and Haas, we spoke about the Brighton game. In terms of Brentford, they're more likely to attack us than Brentford, but they're on cloud 9 at the moment, absolutely bang on form. Eriksen, Toney. I can guarantee that Toney will get chances. How many he'll get and if he takes them is up for debate. But, I mean, how do you see the game going?
Let's put it this way. It can't be any worse than what we saw last week against Brighton. Let's put it that way. That game was just one that we just need to forget now. With regards to Brentford, yes, they're on fire at the moment. They're on top form. Christian Eriksen's performing. Toney up front is, arguably, when he's, firing on all cylinders, he's arguably one of their most dangerous players. So we're going to have our wits about us, I think, on, tomorrow night. We're going to be playing under the lights Saturday night. Their fans are going to be up for it and raucous, so it's not going to be an easy game. But we sort of need to start the game on the front foot. How many times we've started a game and just let the opposition get the better of us, and then we can't get back into it. How many times do we
say that as well? Start the game quick, and we never do.
We just need to. That first goal is important. I know we came back from when Newcastle scored that free kick. We came back and we won comfortably, but we seem to do better when we do get the goal, and then we can sort of build on that, because teams have to open up after that. Brentford won't be afraid to attack. That's the way they play. A bit like Leeds. Leeds don't know any other way, apart from attack, and they like to be on the ball. Slightly bit more pragmatic with March in charge of them now, but Brentford, they're a very sort of they're a ball playing side. They like to be on the ball. They like to pass the ball about, press high, win the ball back. With Toney up front, they've got that target man, and Eriksen, arguably. Hello, Mark.
Hello, mate. You're right.
How you doing, Belly?
With Eriksen, they've got that set piece master, someone who can pass the ball and find your target man. So, the two in the midfield will need to perform tomorrow. They were very subdued last week. Bentancur and Højbjerg need to put in a shift tomorrow. The wing backs, I don't even want to mention the wing backs anymore. We've been through the wing backs pretty much the whole season. Had we had any decent wing backs, it could have been a different situation by now. But I think the other thing that we've got to look at is that Spurs, after a loss, they tend to sort of bounce back and recover and win the next game, or either draw or win. But we haven't had two losses on the spin for quite a while. So I'm hoping there'll be a reaction. Conte will want a reaction. And God forbid, those players will not want to see, will not want to incur Conte's wrath after last week. So I think we'll grab a win tomorrow. But, it'll be just by the skin of our teeth. It won't be an easy game.
No, as long as we win, I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less if it's 1-0, only one shot in a game, it flies off Harry Kane's backside. It doesn't bother me at all. It's all about winning now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Audio Artisan, how you doing, buddy? We tend to struggle against three-man midfields, whatever the calibre of the opposition. And Alan Harris and Bobby K in the chat. How you doing, guys? Thanks for watching and thanks for the comments. Please make sure you hit the like and subscribe. Mark has made a really good point on Monday's show that Conte wasn't able to train the team or anything for the Brighton game because of the COVID situation. He's had a full week now. So do you see the Brighton game being a reflection of the fact that Conte wasn't there, and maybe the standards of whoever coach, maybe it was Mason, who I like Mason, but he's not Conte, is he? So did you see that as a reflection that he wasn't there, and we'll see a completely different Spurs in this game?
Yeah, I think potentially it may have had a factor, because we all know ourselves, if your boss is off work, you do. I'm meant to be working now, by the way, so I hope my boss is watching. You do, don't you? You take your foot off the gas a little bit, don't you? If your boss isn't around, we all do that naturally. So they might have taken their eye off the ball a little bit. You would hope that they wouldn't, but yeah, it may have had a factor to do with it. I know we spoke about it on Monday, but I do just give credit to Brighton, to be honest with you, and the way that they set about their game, set about us to get the 3 points. I think sometimes you just got to credit the other team, and we just weren't at it, mate. From the first kick of the ball, we just was not at it at all. So
yeah, I mean, Alan Harris, in terms of the fullbacks, hard to play with wing backs when the two we used last week at fullbacks. That's true, but we, like Has said, we've discussed fullbacks until we're blue in the face. But one thing that is going to be interesting, Justin, is this game, which is at 12:30 lunchtime on the Saturday. So if Arsenal win that one, we're fifth by the time we kick off. Manchester United against Liverpool were, dreadful is being kind. Dreadful is being kind. It took until 80 odd minutes for their young kid Hannibal, who got a yellow card, to show any kind of desire in stopping Liverpool playing. But I was watching Ralph Rangnick's press conference earlier. I've never been a fan of the interim manager. I think it gives too many players kind of license to just not bother, because they know that, well, if he doesn't fancy me, the new manager in 6 months will. Harry Maguire as well, I couldn't believe this, had suffered a bomb scare at his house on Wednesday. Rangnick said he hasn't spoken to him yet. I mean, if you know anyone who's had a bomb scare or something like that, the first thing you do is pick... Alex Ferguson would have been phoning up before the police arrived. So I can't believe that. And I think part of the problem that they're not playing for the manager is because of things like that he just doesn't care. I'm assuming he phoned up Ronaldo after what happened last week. And yeah, I mean, we obviously don't want Arsenal to win, but I think for Ronaldo, I'd have been happier if he'd have had some time off to be with his partner after what happened. But it looks like he's available for selection, and they're obviously a far better team with Ronaldo in it. So it's not a foregone conclusion now. But I mean, how do you see that game going? For me, a draw is the best result, because United are still in this top four race. So dropping points, if we can win, that's 2 points gained on both of them. How do you see that game going after Arsenal's win at Chelsea? And it's worth pointing out as well, a lot of Spurs fans on Twitter that I saw, none of you guys, up in arms that Arsenal beat Chelsea. We expected them to beat Southampton and lose to Chelsea, so they've got the same amount of points anyway. But yeah, how do you see that game going? And on how it goes, how do you see that affecting us, if at all?
Well, the thing is, we've seen this when it was the Aston Villa game, when Brighton won and we went and beat Aston Villa. So I do think it will impact on how we play, because the team seem to have this quite, insecurity about themselves. They can go and win a game like that, but yet, they can't turn up for Brighton and, realise how important that this game actually is. It's, I was stunned when I saw Harry Kane at the Masters. I sat there and I thought, well, that's defining where your priorities are really in that sort of situation. And it showed, because he looked like a guy who had travelled all the way over to the Masters and then travelled all the way back to then have to frantically train ready for a game, because he didn't look ready for it at all. So
we were discussing this on Monday and saying that if we'd have beaten Brighton, it would have just been brushed under the carpet. Obviously, it's been emphasised by the fact that, like you say, he didn't look like himself at all, and we lost.
Yeah, I think if we'd have lost, but he'd have looked at his best, I think it would have been brushed under the carpet. I think the fact that he didn't look himself at all did not help. And I think it's clear that I can see what Conte's trying to do. He's trying to give them, almost like reward them, but it's almost a definition of taking, giving an inch and taking a mile, because some of these players do just look like that they will take the proverbials when they get given the chance. And I think the problem that we've got is if, for example, Arsenal, which is what my worry is Arsenal go out there and absolutely tonk United, that will have a psychological effect on Tottenham, because for some reason those players or a selection of those players cannot play under pressure. And as I said, we saw it in the Brighton game when there was pressure put on them to perform, they couldn't do it. So it's almost a bit like what Has said, we have to score first before we relax. And that's not how it should be. It should be from the first whistle. We go out there, we show our aggression. You know, we see so many times. I think Højbjerg came out with a statement today. Lloris keeps coming out with statements every 2 minutes about things that are wrong, you know, issues that are happening. It's like, well, actually, why don't you just leave your talking to on the pitch rather than constantly doing it off the pitch? So I am worried about that game. I think it will depend on what Ronaldo turns up. That I think defines the game. If it is the Ronaldo that turned up against us, turned up against Norwich, then I think Arsenal will have problems, because although
do you think it will? Because I personally think after what's happened to him, an absolutely dreadful thing you don't wish on anybody. You see, with all of these people who have bad things happen, football is their kind of saving grace. It takes their mind off things, so it could relax him, or he could just be wound up, which anyone can understand that. But
yeah, I think Ronaldo, let's not forget, this is a guy who is an exception to the rule of modern footballers. You know, most footballers at his sort of age would be winding down. He seems to be getting better with age, you know, and he's in the shape of his life, really. So you could imagine he could still keep doing this for another maybe 2-3 years, really. And the thing is that it ultimately, you know, he's a model professional. You know, okay, he had that spat at the Everton game, but outside of that, it's very rare when you hear him having an issue on the pitch. It's normally his football does the talking. And although Chelsea were awful, they still scored 2 goals. You know, that defence of Arsenal's is not anything to sing or dance about. And one thing that I would say is that there were times in that game, although Arsenal won 4-2, there were times Chelsea, you know, really should have got back in the game. You know, it should. I think it should have been a draw based on the chances Chelsea had. You know, and that's being generous to them, but they did have the chance to do that. And I think that's the thing. It's almost quite worrying when you look at Arsenal, when you look at Tottenham. You know, the only real difference is the colour of the shirt almost, because the way that they play and the mentality that they have, it's very, very similar. Because you wouldn't have expected, as you said earlier, Chris, you wouldn't have expected Arsenal to lose to Southampton, who just lost to Burnley, and then go and beat, you know, Chelsea away. So when you look at it from that aspect, it is that case of, in terms of all 3 of those teams, it just depends who turns up on the day. As I said, I agree with you, though. I think the best case scenario for us would be to get a draw, because then that way, yes, they go ahead, but it's only a point. And then obviously we can go to Brentford, you know, go and win that game. And then, you know, we're in a situation where the run-in, apart from the Liverpool game, isn't so bad. You know, let's look at the fact that, you know, we've got Leicester afterwards, and okay, we've got Burnley to come up as well, who are now finding a bit of form. So, but outside of them games, you would really sort of look at it and think, if that result can go, as you say, as a draw, and we can get a result against Brentford, we are then very much in the box seat. But Tottenham have now been in the box seat for the last 2-3 weeks, and we're still sitting here and saying, you know, it's up in arms and could they do it? So, you know, as I said, though, I think totally what you said, best case would be a draw, and I think it will be determined by if Ronaldo turns up.
Yeah, a couple of comments from Alan here. With United and Spam, they need to start raising their game, or one of them will not get Europe next season, although West Ham can rely on winning the Europa. And a question I'll put to you, Has. Do you think all 4 of Arsenal's goals look dubious? I mean, they look dubious in the sense that it was god-awful defending that led to them. But in terms of, was it in Nketiah? I think, I'm not sure if it was his first, I think it was his second goal that took about 74 ricochets, and he was the only one moving. But yeah, do you think they all look dubious, or is it just a case of if the team you're playing is terrible at defending, you've got the right to take advantage and you take goals wherever they come?
I think it looked dubious from the fact that the defending was awful. It was non-existent defending. Let's take the first goal. A misplaced back pass from Christensen. Nketiah latches onto it. We could say, Mendy could have rushed off his line a bit quicker to get that ball, but ultimately a mistake by the defence. The 75 ricochets, I think that was Nketiah's second goal, was it?
I think so, yeah.
It was truly, truly horrific defending. 1 minute Chelsea had the ball. The next minute they lost control of the ball. Nketiah nips in, and then bang, thank you very much. Christmas come early for Nketiah the other night, honestly. All the goals pretty much gift wrapped. You take Smith Rowe's goal, for example. Mendy, it was almost like he was diving in slow motion to get that ball.
It was a very clever finish, that one.
It was a clever finish.
I didn't expect Smith Rowe to hit it first time, but he hasn't wellied it, has he? So, and a keeper of Mendy's quality, you'd expect the reactions, like you say, to be a bit quicker than that.
At beginning of the season, first few months, he was probably the best keeper in the Premier League. And even I put my hand up to say, do you know what? He's excellent. Along with Ramsdale for Arsenal, he was the one who was performing. So for me to see that sort of performance the other night, it was just, they didn't cover themselves in glory. Let's put it that way. And then you've got the penalty at the end. I mean, I don't know what to think of it, to be honest. It was probably one of the harshest decisions, I've seen in a long while. I mean, I know it's up for interpretation, but it just shows.
We see that at every corner. That at every corner in every game.
Exactly. You see that every corner, set pieces, and for it to be given, just told you everything you needed to know about that match. So yeah, as dubious as it might seem, it was a lot. I mean, 3 of the goals were a lot down to the defending on the night by Chelsea. It's comical defending. But let's not forget also they dropped a few of their players for this match as well. At the back, noticeably, there was no Rudiger. He's the one who ultimately...
whether you like him or not, he's been superb for them.
He has been superb, yeah. He's the one who sort of, he's the enforcer in that back line. Silva didn't come on until later on. So they didn't, arguably, they didn't have their 2 best defenders on. Kovacic wasn't about. Havertz wasn't playing. So they had quite a few key players out in the game. Lukaku was non-existent. So if you look at it, it's almost like, well, okay, we can afford to sort of, drop this game. It was just very, very weird team selection from the manager, from Tuchel. It's almost like, they were, we can drop this one. We'll get 3rd spot anyway. Win, lose or draw this one. But I think coming to the Manchester United game against Arsenal, I think that's going to be detrimental. It's a massive game. With regards to Ronaldo, I think, Justin was saying he's a model professional. He'll want to guide that team into a Champions League spot for next season.
I mean,
he will not want to.
Can you imagine if he played in that Liverpool game? There's no way that the United would have had as little effort as they did, because he drags those players to better performances and at least some kind of effort.
I mean, he's the one player that shows real passion in that team. There might be a couple of others, but he's the one who really stands out, who really, drags his team out of the mire when it's not going right for them. So I think he's going to have a massive bearing on the game if he starts. It's good for us. But, on the flip side, Spurs being Spurs, I can see United, Arsenal draw, and then us drawing against Brentford, and then we're still in the same position. We get presented with these golden eggs, and then it's like, no, actually, I don't want it.
But that happens with every top 4 battle at the end of the season in history. Every team seemingly doesn't want it. They keep dropping points here, there, and everywhere, and then it's who wants it. Whoever wants it slightly more gets it. But I mean, Mark, in terms of the United game, speaking to United, watching the United game, I thought Sancho was their best player. He was the only one who got the ball. He only came on at half-time. He was the only one who got the ball and looked to try and take Trent on and make something happen. Everyone else, it was too. We've said this about Harry Winks and our team in the past. Safe, very safe, very safe. And then, you've got to try and make things happen. So Sancho did. So I'll be surprised if he didn't start. McTominay, knowing from my mate Ben, who's a United fan, he puts effort in. So I think Sancho, and he's available against Sancho, McTominay, and Ronaldo. If those three play, I think it could be a completely different United from Liverpool. And also the fact as well that obviously Rangnick was the interim manager, which I mentioned earlier, that can allow players to go, well, he doesn't fancy me. What's the point as a new manager? Now that Ten Hag has been announced, and it's 100% certain Ten Hag is the manager next season, do you think you'll see a different kind of United for those kind of fringe players? And Pogba's not playing. Rangnick has announced that he's out for the rest of the season. So those fringe players, do you think they'll be wanting to prove something now? Well, the new manager's coming in. He's going to be watching this. I want to be here next season because this could be the start of the Man United revival. And then you see a completely different Man United, or do you think they're in such disarray that if Arsenal get their shooting boots on, start off quick, it could be another Liverpool game?
Well, to be honest, Arsenal don't really have shooting boots, so I'm not really too worried about that. I know they scored 4 the other day, but I think we've just demonstrated how they got them goals. One was given to them on the plate by Christensen with a really shoddy pass back. I do like Smith Rowe's goal. I agree with you, Chris. He took that really well, but maybe Mendy on another day would have saved it. A penalty, which was not a penalty. Well, listen, I disagree with you guys slightly. That I would rather see Man United win this game, not because I hate Arsenal, which I do, but I think if we win our game in hand, I know it's games in hand, we want points on the board, but they're a game ahead of us. If we win, we can be potentially 6 points ahead of United anyway. So I think if they beat Arsenal, that would actually help us, because if we do beat Brentford, we're then 3 points ahead of them on the same amount of games as Arsenal. And whereas we'll be a game behind United, if we won that game in hand, we would then be 6 points ahead of them. And I think United are in disarray. So they're not going to win every game to the end of the season. So I would be happy with a draw. I would personally be happy if United beating Arsenal, because I think that they're our biggest danger for the top 4. I don't think United are, to be honest with you. So I don't mind United beating them on Saturday. But that's just my opinion. That's the way I've looked at it and thought, if we beat Brentford, we can potentially be 6 points ahead of United down the line. So who knows? I think they'll come out stronger. You would want to see a reaction. They've lost to Liverpool. They're going to have Ronaldo back, who you've said, he's their best player. He's one of the best players that's ever lived. He's just gone through a horrendous thing. On the pitches where he does his talking, I can see him scoring in this game. That's the kind of thing he does. I agree with you on McTominay. I don't think he's a great player, but he will definitely give effort. He'll be all over.
He'll show passion at least, Mark. He'll show passion.
Yeah, absolutely. As you said, that young kid coming on the other day seemed to be the only one to show any passion.
Yeah, it's exactly what Google Mars says here. He seemed to be the most spirited player to me. But I thought Sancho played quite well. It's just that he's trying to play against who are possibly the Premier League champions, trying to do it all on his own. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. And let's be honest, Liverpool's going to clean up the whole lot, aren't they? That quadruple looks pretty much nailed on for them. So, but it was difficult for Sancho, like you said. It's not easy coming on as a substitute to try and change a game. Against a team like Liverpool, it was never going to happen. Let's be honest. No. But
what do you make of quite a lot in the chat, and there was on Twitter, of Chelsea fixing the game and letting Arsenal win because they don't like Spurs? For me, they're professional footballers. They don't want to lose. Third isn't nailed on for them. And I personally think the exploits of what happened in Madrid, I think just slightly delayed, have now caught up with them, and that's possibly why he rested a few players as well. I don't think they threw the game. I don't think they were going all out for the win, to be honest with you. But we've seen that over the years with Leicester. When Leicester were going for the league, teams were doing that. They weren't throwing games, but they weren't definitely putting in the effort as much as what they were against us, for example. West Ham will be the same when they play Arsenal, because West Ham have got Europa League to play for. So you can't blame them. They're not.
It's understandable. It is understandable.
Yeah, it is understandable.
Because like I was saying earlier, they dropped quite a few players, and you know, it must have been in Tuchel's head thinking, look, if we lose this, it's not the end of the world because let's be honest, they're going to get that third spot. They'll probably batter the next team 4-0, whoever they're playing in the Premier League.
West Ham, I think.
Oh, West Ham. Well, yeah, I'll take that back then. If it's West Ham, it's always quite a close game. But, you know, I mean, both of those teams are fighting for something at least. One's Europe and the other one's in a cup. So, yeah.
I mean, Bobby K here says, I want to see Arsenal fans shut the fuck up, celebrating last week like they won the league when we lost. Now chirping again since Wednesday. Hope they get battered everywhere they go. But like Nick Collison said on here, where's the comment? Let me go and find the comment. How are you doing, Nick, by the way? Let's not worry about anyone else apart from ourselves. We match the results and we have top 4. And then that leads me on to top 4 is still in our hands. We can afford to lose that Liverpool game, win every other game because of the Arsenal game, Justin, and we're top 4, unless, of course, there's some huge swing in goal difference, which I think it needs to be plus 11 for us to be under the goal difference of Arsenal. But I mean, it's just focus on yourself, isn't it?
It is, but I think the problem is that, you know, we were saying that prior to the Brighton game, and then all of a sudden we saw what happened there. So I think the difficulty is that in an ideal world, yes, we could lose the Liverpool game, as you rightly said, we could win every other game and we'd be there. But we've seen this season that is not a given, you know, particularly with Spurs, particularly with Arsenal, particularly with Man United. They can pull out results that you wouldn't expect and win, lose or draw in ways you wouldn't have thought could happen. So I do think that, you know, we are going to be looking at that Arsenal United game because of the fact that ultimately, I think, will define who is serious to challenge us for top 4, because at the moment we are 4th. So whichever team does come out on top on that will probably be the main challenger because of the fact of the momentum that they will build from it, especially if United beat Arsenal at home or if Arsenal win and they go 3 points ahead. So it is absolutely massive. And yes, you know, we then can go to Brentford and we can do that. But we've seen with this Tottenham team, particularly this season and particularly in years gone by, that we have had to be reliant on others doing, you know, similar things that we do because we're not consistent enough. And there are too many of those players that are comfortable. I mean, I saw a report that Conte was looking at getting at least 6 players in the summer. Well, I think that's minimum, you know, for the areas that he's looking for, because he's not trying to build over time. He wants to win now. So I think it is a case of that these players almost should now be using these 6 games to decide, do they want to be here? Because some of them are proving they don't deserve to be. You know, Harry Winks, when he came on in the Brighton game, had a monumental opportunity to stake a claim as to why he should still be at this football club. And what he did was he proved why he should be nowhere near this football club. You know, Lucas Moura.
For the 100th time.
Yeah, exactly. But, it's that sort of thing. Players, you know, have an opportunity to try and prove why they should be there, even if it is to just provide competition. But, you know, when you leave Tottenham, you know, it's not, the grass isn't always greener. Okay, yes, we've seen it with certain players, you know, where they've gone off, won trophies. Obviously, we just saw Vinicius win a trophy, which was lovely to see that another player gets added to the list of players who leave the club and go win trophies. But we have seen it go. Yeah, you know, we have seen it go the other way. You know, Dele Alli is a perfect example of a player who thought he's going to go and revive his career at Everton, and he can't get off the bench. So, you know, the likes of Harry Winks, you know, a guy who was getting into the England squad, you know, really has got to think about the fact of, does he want to revive his career at Spurs, or does he at least want to put himself in the shop window? Because what I was stunned to see with Dele Alli was the fact that Tottenham just said, yeah, go. We might get 40 million. Chances are we'll get bugger all. and that is probably what they'll get.
I think that's Conte though.
That's a Conte thing, yeah.
Previously, it's I need the money that I paid for this guy
Mhm.
back. Whereas I think Conte is like, don't fuck about, get rid of him.
Yeah, and
100%.
but that's the thing though, isn't it? And this is where these players should be realizing that if they want to,
maybe they're just not good enough, and maybe Harry Winks is trying, and he's just not good enough.
To be fair, I mean, he's, you know, it is such a shame that Skipp, I think realistically won't be back this season. No. I think, you know, I mean, it's amazing listening to his interview that he'd been playing so long with an injury. And yet was better than what we had on the pitch at times. You know, I find that staggering.
Very good point.
You know, so to me, some of these players won't be here, and they need to decide either do they want to try and be here, or do they want to move that is going to be suitable for them? Because as it's turned out with Dele Alli, Everton has just made him go from bad to worse. So.
Well, I think in a relegation battle, you need to be a fighter. I'm not sure Dele Alli's a fighter.
To be fair, the passion is gone. Someone like gone years ago.
Yeah, someone like a Højbjerg or like you mentioned, a Skipp would be perfect for Everton right now because they're battlers and fighters. And then, you know, but yeah, Dele Alli, I'm not sure he's a fighter. He's a luxury player.
And this is the thing. I mean, you know, you talk about like the fact now that Doherty's out. You know, he's put himself in a situation where, although he's out for the season, the chances are he'll stay at the football club because they'll look at it and go, he can stay because he's proven what he can do and he'll provide competition. But in terms of then the others, you know, Reguilon, Sessegnon, and Emerson Royale, I can't remember which one of you said it, but, you know, or if it was in the chat about them being fullbacks, not left wing backs.
Yeah, that was Alan in the chat,
Yeah, but they need to decide, are they adaptable enough to be able to show they can do that, or do they need to seek pastures new? Because Conte has made it clear, you know, he's not going to deviate, you know. And one of the things that I do find frustrating with that is teams are starting to work out if they put three in the middle, you know, we seem to struggle, and he won't do that. He will not deviate from his formation. And the problem with that being is that it's great that he wants to stick with it and wants to embed it into these players, but some of these players aren't good enough to, you know, stick to what he's saying, and he, you know, needs to sometimes be adaptable to that. But, you know, we'll just have to wait and see how it happens.
Do you know what that might be? Because he has played a free a few times. He played was it with Liverpool. He played with Son and Kane. I think losing Skipp,
Leicester, we had a free.
I think we've already said, like, Winks, we know now needs to move on. He's not going to do it for it, and I just think we're so light in that area that I just don't think he can risk playing with three in midfield at the minute. Yeah. I do think that he would like to. I just don't think we have the personnel, unfortunately, to do it. But I agree with you. We do need to change up at times. I just don't think we got the players, which goes back to maybe we need
all the players he trusts.
Yeah, all the players he trusts. Yeah, that are going to do the job that he requires them to do. So we're sort of stuck in having to play the two in the middle. Whereas sometimes I think he would like to play a three, but we just can't do it. Unfortunately.
I mean, playing a free probably means that Kulu drops as well, though.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the other issue we got. You know, is do we have enough firepower? Yes, we do have enough firepower, but ultimately, you know, with Kulu up there as well, increases our chances of getting a goal.
I think that's why when Conte was talking about, because they were talking about getting another striker, I think it was why it was interesting. He said about wanting to get another a number 10, because having a number 10 technically does mean he has that three in the middle. Because he has,
absolutely, yeah.
You know, he has the two that can sort of sit in and one that can drift off. So I think maybe that's why he's talking about wanting a number 10, because it gives that option to have the three in the middle. Yeah. You know, and if Kulu is dropped, then that has to be the case, because ultimately, yes, he's done well, but if he has a poor game, then we struggle. You know, simple. Or any of them have a poor game, it struggles. Unfortunately, at Brighton, it was all three of them.
But if we get those players in, Conte will love that, because it gives him opportunities to change the team, plan A's, B's, C's, like you say. And then, you know, Kulu's been fantastic. If he's dropped, you hope his mindset will be, you're not dropping me, I'm getting back into your team. And then that will automatically force the quality in training, the training levels and the effort levels up, without Conte really having to do that much. So, but obviously, like Mark said, and you've said, we don't have the players at the moment, certainly in midfield. But a couple of comments before we move on. Nick Collison, North London derby, Arsenal getting smashed, top 4 secured. Oh, what a night you play Thursday because you're fucking shite. You don't want to be tempting fate like that, Nick, at this time. It's still squeaky bum time.
I admire the passion, though, Nick.
I think the North London derby will be proper loud. And if we can start quick and keep the fans on side, that could be a hell of an atmosphere. And Alan Harris, I disagree with this and agree with you, Mark. I think with West Ham, they have Wolves white up their arse. I'm not sure they'll put all their eggs in one basket. I think they will with the Europa League because the chances of them getting 4th is very slim. The chances of them winning the Europa League is a lot better now. Yeah. And Justin, just before they beat Lyon, you said on this show they aren't beating Barcelona. And Barcelona lost to Frankfurt.
But to be fair, the interesting thing about that, which what West Ham have been very clever about, was Barcelona. I mean, I couldn't believe it when I heard it, but apparently Barcelona fans were selling their tickets to Frankfurt fans. So actually, there were only meant to be 4,000 Frankfurt fans in the stadium. It turned out there were 30,000 of them. I mean, what fans actually turn around and will sell their tickets to opposition fans for the sake of a profit? That in itself, I thought, absolutely. But I mean, West Ham have already come out and said that that will not happen, and if we find any fan doing it, they will be banned. So I think that will be the difference there. But ultimately, I'm surprised with Barcelona, but clearly it looks like their priority was to try and get into the Champions League through La Liga, which I thought was very odd. But you look at it now, and I would probably say that the favourites for that competition are Leipzig, but you know, we've seen surprises all over the show, and West Ham, I agree with you. I think we'll throw all their eggs into that basket because
they won't care if they finish 12th and win that Europa League. They won't give it. They won't care about that at all.
No, nor should they.
No, absolutely. And
we wouldn't either, though. That's the way you got to look at it.
How many times have we sat here and, you know, the club's ambition has always been to get into the top 4. And yet, how many times have we sat there and gone, would you rather get in the top 4 and win nothing or finish 12th, you know, and win a trophy? Because we all remember the last time we won a trophy and we weren't in the top 4 at that point.
Yeah, give me a choice now, being in West Ham's position or ours. I'll take West Ham's every day of the week. I'll tell you now.
Absolutely.
And, you know, Leipzig might be the favourites, but as we well know, anything can happen in a semi-final.
It's a one-off game. One-off game.
And I mean, the away goals don't count now, which I think is a shame, but anything can happen. And beating Lyon, I think it was away from home, wasn't it? 3-0, which regardless of how Lyon played or whatever, is a big result and a huge result and brilliantly played.
Well, what was also surprising about it, bearing in mind that Ndombele got the goal, can't even get in the squad. No. You know, I've been keeping an eye on their squads. He hasn't got in the last couple, and he wasn't in the West Ham, you know, squad for that game. So I think he started that game, but he come off at half time. Oh, did he? I didn't. I must admit.
As far as I understand, Lyon don't want him. So
no, they don't want him. He was rubbish. Yeah, he come off at half time. He was awful. He was awful in the second leg.
Well, as I say, I think it was the game after then in that case where he wasn't in the squad.
Yeah, he was so bad. That's probably why, because he was so bad in that. The first half of the second leg.
But I mean, West Ham will be full of confidence, and why not? And whatever happens in the league is a bonus. But I think they're going for that competition. And
I believe so as well. Yeah.
And in terms of your comments about 6 in, Bobby K says 6 in is just a start. We need at least 8-10. Need a big clear out. Conte must be given players he wants, not Levy wants for the future. Big summer ahead. Gugmar agrees with that. And questions about whether he'll let go of Emerson and Hill. I don't think Hill, Emerson, possibly. Nick Collison with the North London derby. Friday, I've booked off work. Told the missus, I don't know when I'll be home. Please don't let me down, Spurs. Oh, dear. But I think we'll win that North London derby. And he also goes on to say, do you know what's funny with Champions League? Manchester City semi-final tickets on general sale versus Real Madrid. I mean, can you imagine us in a semi-final? You wouldn't be able to, general sale would be banned because there wouldn't be any tickets available. And in terms of the Emerson, Bobby K, I think they both need to be loaned out to championship teams, Hill and Emerson, this is, to toughen up about English football. Nick Collinson depends on the Doherty injury with Emerson. Hill might return, but Lo Celso and Fat boy won't return. Ndombele will if Leon don't want him. But I mean, let's move on. We've already mentioned him. Some good news for Spurs. This guy has signed a contract, an extension to 2027. Absolutely superb. And I mean, yeah, Haas, future Tottenham captain, as labelled by Mourinho, future England captain, labelled by Sam, put a lot of our players to shame. The first game he played, he was superb for Norwich last season. First game he played this season under Nuno, the Man City 1-0 win. Terrible 15 minutes, never hid, and then I wouldn't say ran the game, but he completely held his own. He's just gone from strength to strength. And he's been a huge miss. Had we not got Bentancur and him not settled, our midfield could be all over the place now. So, I mean, and what that does, if he wants to play 3 in midfield or he only wants to play 2, you've got 3 players there who are good enough to play in that midfield, who will then fight against each other to get those 2 spaces. Unbelievable player he's been. And yet again, one of our own who's come through the ranks. If he carries on like he is in 5 years' time, could be 100 million easy and cost us nothing. Absolutely superb. And can only be good news that he signed a 5-year deal. At
the end of the day, I've only got nice things to say about Ollie Skipp. I was mentioning someone else on a chat yesterday. Ollie Skipp is the future of this club. Let's be honest. He captained the under-21 side. I've got no doubts that he's going to take that mantle at some point in the future. Future Tottenham captain. The lad is Tottenham through and through, and that's what you want. He shows passion. He wears the badge with pride. When he's on the pitch, you can see the lad is everywhere. And the tackles he puts in, my God, I mean, they were that good that the ref had to, upend him for some of those tackles. You know, I remember him putting in a couple of good tackles and thinking, well, why is the ref booked him for that? Or why is the ref, upended him for that tackle? The lad is mustard, let's be honest. And him signing a long contract with us, fantastic. If Conte had to mould a player to his liking, I think it would be in his shape. He likes that sort of swashbuckling player who can get in there, get in teams' faces. He's on you like a sort of a young Kante, all over the pitch. And that's what we need, someone who can screen that back 4 and just ease the pressure. Imagine him if he was available against Brighton, winning those tackles, winning those 50-50s in the middle and just springing, the through balls and stuff. It would have made such a difference. But yeah, I think it's a shame that he's not going to be a part of the squad this season now. We've got to try and build for next season now. Having 3 options in that midfield when he's fit is going to be fantastic. I believe we are in for another midfielder as well.
Calvin Phillips has been linked, hasn't he? Which would obviously be good for the English quota, and he's obviously been good, but he's been out for so long, it's going to take him a little while to get back to fitness.
I think Calvin Phillips, he's a good player, but like you said, he's been out for a while. He was brilliant that first season for Leeds. Second season, he's been blighted with injuries. You got to think, will he make much of a difference to what we already have at the moment in terms of us having Ollie Skipp?
I think it would be him and Højbjerg in that position, Bentancur and Skipp in that position, or one of them misses out if Conte decides on a 3, and then Harry Winks as the.
Let's just hope Harry's not there next season.
Option.
The only thing I would say with the Calvin Phillips situation is he's going to cost a lot of money, and I think Tottenham would only go after Calvin Phillips if they got Christian Eriksen, because Christian Eriksen's a free, so and that technically solves the number 10 role. So it's whether Tottenham decide to go down that route. Myself, I kind of not sure about it. I would, I'd rather that they put that money perhaps elsewhere, because, a bit like what Haas was saying there, if you look at what Calvin Phillips would bring, and there's a comment that I completely do agree with in the chat by Bobby K. Yeah, I would.
100%
cheaper. He offers so much more.
For the people listening, that's Bobby K saying, personally, I'll take James Ward-Prowse over Phillips tomorrow.
I would as well, because he offers... The difference there is, when you look at Calvin Phillips, There's no, to me, him and Skipp and Højbjerg, they're kind of similar sort of players, you know, whereas what you probably want from somebody in that position is someone who, if they've got the ball, can ping it this way or ping it that way, or can take a shot, you know, and can hopefully make sure that Harry Kane never, ever, ever takes a set piece ever again.
Absolutely.
You know, I love Harry
100%.
Kane to bits, but if I see him next season over a set piece, I'm just going to skip that bit because I know it's going to be a great conversion if it was rugby. You know, it's
when the commentators say as well, "Oh, they've got a great free kick to Harry Kane's over the ball." Have they ever fucking watched him take a free kick? Because he never.
Well, bearing in mind when it was Hodgson had him taking corners. You know, surely you learn if you can't take a corner, how the bloody hell can he take a free kick? So yeah, I think he got a free kick recently, and I was like, yeah, I'll just go and make myself a drink.
We stopped taking free kicks. It needs to be Dyer who's taking them now.
Have you heard why, Chris? Do you know the reason why he stopped taking them?
Oh, I have no idea.
Because apparently he's one more away from, if he takes another one and misses, he's got the record for the amount of free kicks taken and missed. No, seriously.
I
think I did hear that.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, he's broken every other record, so he might as well break that one as well.
I don't think that's one he wants, has to be honest.
He could get a trophy for it. So just add to all the other personal trophies.
Absolutely. On the Calvin Phillips, I would have ruled him out on his fucking dress sense alone, personally. Have you seen his clobber?
Let's not go there, Mark. Let's not go there. That's another issue for another day.
I think with Skipp, a few comments first to Alan Harris. I think Winks will be sold either Brighton or Southampton. Certainly, if he goes to Southampton, we'll have a swap deal with James Ward-Prowse. And Bobby K, I hope what happened to Skipp can happen with Hill. He's talked about the loan there. I don't have as much faith in Emerson. His football brain is weak to non-existent. That is the hardest thing to teach a player. I think you can still teach that, though. But in terms of Skipp, Mark, he's 21, 22 maybe, but it's like he's 27 and been playing. You know, like Has said, he's always in there breaking up play, but then he seems to know when to stick it wide down the line, quick ball.
Oh, he's got a pass on him as well.
And his football, I mean, Bobby K there talked about Emerson without no footballing brain. Skipp seems to have have two, and
yeah.
I think he could be, if we don't get one, the number 10. I think you can mould him into that, but he'll have a bit of a bite. But in games where we need to sit back like a Man City, you can have him a bit deep. And what a player we've got there. And that loan to Norwich was probably the best thing that happened to him in the same sense that Harry Kane, the best thing that happened to him was Tim Sherwood, because otherwise he'd have been dragged back from Millwall.
Player of the season at Norwich.
Yeah. Whereas Harry Kane would have been dragged back from Millwall when he needed that kind of toughening up. And you look at Harry Kane now and
the only problem that I do think, just with what Bobby Kay said about Brian Hill, is that if Brian Hill is going to work, which I don't think he is, because he has just not got the physique for it. You look at him against Kulusevski, he needs a loan in the Championship. He needs a loan with another Premier League team. This is one of the things that I do find frustrating with Tottenham, is that when we get our loans right, it tends to be when we loan them to lower league clubs in England. You know, you look at what Troy Parrott's now doing at MK Dons. You look at what Keon and Tete's doing at Cheltenham. You know, they're learning their trade at a not a fancy sort of league. Sending Brian Hill to Valencia, to me, didn't make any sense.
One thing I will say on that, Justin, though, the player has to want it as well. He's arguably come from a top league in Spain, where he's been lauded as the next best thing over there. He's come over to Tottenham, another big club in the top league in England, and then to be told, well, now you're going to be loaned out to a Championship side. I doubt he himself will want that drop unless it's to another Premier League side, maybe a Brentford or someone like that, who's going to stay up, but you know, he can sort of learn his craft in the league. It's not a case of, I mean, these Keon Tetes and everyone else, yes, they're good, but they're you know, homegrown players that, you know, they will go out to a Championship side or, you know, to lower league clubs.
Yeah, he was signed for how much money? You know, there's a lot of money and the swap of the manner.
It was like £30 million signing or something along those lines. And then, you know,
I mean, absolutely.
We can all say,
I think the problem is, though, that I get what you're saying about where he came from, but the problem is we're now seeing with Emerson, you can do it in Spain because of the fact of it's a more tactical game. You know, you have more time on the ball. You know, it isn't as aggressive as the English league, and as we're seeing, certain players, you know, unless they're ready to sort of, you know, get stuck in and really go for it, which unfortunately so many times we saw with Gill, he was getting bullied out of the games and wasn't really able to get into them. And okay, maybe not a championship team, but there's nothing stopping, you know, I mean, let's say, for example, Fulham, you know, they're going to come up, you know, Carvalho's going to Liverpool. Why couldn't Hill go there and have a season to try and prove himself at Fulham, perhaps? That would be a sort of move that would make sense. But when you look at... Sorry,
I don't think he'll be back. I don't think we'll see him. Did you hear Conte's comments after he went out? He was saying, you know, we've got to look at... I think he was having a little bit of a pop at Paratici, to be honest with you, saying you got to look at... Just because he's a good player in Spain doesn't mean you can come to this league and do it. You know, I don't think... I think we can still get decent money for Brian Hill. I think he's been doing reasonably well over there this season. I think he's one that will look to move on. That's just my opinion. And I think
him in the cell. So
yeah, I think, you know, it'll be sensible. I think he'll still be a top player, but I don't think he'll be at Tottenham. And we don't play wingers, do we? He's like your proper winger type. I don't see him as a wing forward from what I've seen.
No. He's a winger.
Wingers. Yeah,
but you know, when it just coming on to since we're talking transfers, I think coming on to Emerson, the wing back situation. I think the one thing that we're forgetting is that these players were brought in before Conte come over, so they were brought in for a completely different system. You know, not for a wing back system. And now, yes, obviously, we're trying to sort of bed them in as wing backs, trying to play them in that position. It's not worked out ultimately, but you know, next season, if it one or two has to go next season. Personally, I don't think Emerson's that bad defensively, but as a wing back, I'm not sure. I'm not so sure he'll convert to a wing back position. So maybe having him as a backup until he gets up to speed, and then have another wing back, a right back come in, who's going to take over that role, and then someone on the left. Because if I'm being honest, Reggie hasn't convinced me. I know he's got his lovers out there, but he really hasn't convinced me. So I think Reggie has to be another one that we should look at.
I wouldn't be bothered if all four left has to tell you the truth.
No, I wouldn't, but I can't see us moving on all four, Mark. That's the problem.
It won't happen, but I wouldn't be bothered. I don't.
But Reggie's got the buyback clause from Real Madrid. If they say, yeah, we'll buy him back for 30 million, take their hand, you know, bite their hands off, take the 30 million and invest it in a new left back. For me personally, I would get rid of Reggie. Cesc would purely stay because of the English quota. And he's not bad when he's fit, to be honest, but he needs someone there that's going to give him competition, so a natural wing back, and also at right back. Obviously, Doherty come back, but you know you've got to look at age as well with Doherty. I think it's 31, going on to 32 now. Emerson is a bit younger, and I think Emerson can be the understudy to whoever we bring in next season. I know you might say that's a bit unfair on Doherty because he's coming to form, but we don't know what his form is going to be like next season. Is he going to carry on like from where he was? You know, if a good offer comes along for that wing back position at the right wing back, I think we should take it. We should explore it.
Yeah. A couple of things before we move on to the game. I've got a work meeting at 2, so I've got to start wrapping it up a bit. Bobby K, these are all from set pieces, playmaker, gritty midfielder, workhorse, good injury record. Never heard anything bad about his attitude. Talk about Calvin Phillips, but apparently a bit of a diva after the Euros. If we got him and Conte was there, he wouldn't be a diva because Conte would not allow that. And he also says, sorry, Chris, I disagree. No need for apologies. This is all fine. All opinions welcome. Kane was helped by Levy. If he spent the extra 1 million on Benteke, Kane would have been sent off somewhere else again. Levy cheapness forced Sherwood to play Kane, and here we are. Yeah, that's probably true as well. But how obviously £1 million for us is a lot of money, but for Levy, it's not that much. How little tiny things can create huge things in terms of Kane there. And whoever says things like this, Kane, the one season wonder. But yeah, we've talked about our midfield there. Justin, well, I'll come to Mark actually. This midfielder against us for the first time that I can remember, Christian Eriksen. I worry he's going to have a say in this game, but if we can keep him quiet, we should be able to keep Brentford quiet. Hopefully that's me trying to be positive. And I work with a Brentford season ticket holder, and he said before Eriksen came, Toney was in all positions of the pitch other than where you really want him in the middle of the goal, in the middle of the width of the goal in the 18-yard box. Since Eriksen's come, every time Eriksen gets the ball, Toney's in position for a cross to come in or whatever. And that's what that good playmaker will do. Whether Eriksen will be playing there next season or playing for us or playing somewhere else remains to be seen. But he's their key, isn't he, Eriksen? And it'd be great to see him back, not against us, and hope certainly not if he scores a goal or turns the game in their favour. But yeah, it's great to see him back. Just hope that we can keep him quiet. And we should know what makes him tick as a footballer, because most of the players played with him and know what he needs to be able to
and the manager knows him. And the manager knows
absolutely,
him. So you know, and even players that weren't there with him, like Højbjerg plays with him at international level. So you would hope we'd have a plan to sort of stop him pulling the strings, really, as we know he can do. And he also gets all over the pitch, and he's still doing that. Like, he's come back from the heart troubles. He's still getting himself around. So, yeah, clearly they're danger man, but they've got one or two others as well. So, you know, we need to be alert all over the pitch, not just on one man. But it's great, you know, away from football, it's great to see him back. It's fantastic.
And yeah, Justin, keeping him quiet is the key, isn't it, for tomorrow? Or absolutely. I mean, it's slightly unfair to Brentford as well. They are a good team, but obviously he's really, really helped.
They are a good team, but let's not forget, prior to him going in, they were sinking like a stone. You know, since he's been there, he has revolutionised Brentford in the way they play. And I mean, I know we've waxed lyrical about Bentancur at times and Kulusevski, but to me, in terms of signing of January, I think it has to be Eriksen to Brentford, because the way that he has changed that team's play and how they set up, and you know, he's been pinnacle in terms of the points that they've got that have now meant they're fully away from that relegation. Because I think prior to that, they were going down. In my opinion, I was starting to think that they would go down with Watford and Norwich, but now after he's come in, I think they've won 4 of the games. I can't think of how many games they've played since then, but
6 unbeaten, I think. Yeah.
So when you look at the difference that he has made to that team,
you're right.
It's second to none. It really, really is. So keeping him quiet will be important, but we do have to get that. Don't forget, you know, that Ivan Toney can play differently. We saw that prior to him getting there. You know, they got that Brian and Bremo as well.
Bremo, yeah.
Dangerous. You know, you've got Norgard in the middle. You know, good with breaking up play as well. So they have got a lot of good players, and their defence, you know, with Pontus Jansson and Christoph Ayer, you know, that's a solid centre-back pairing there. So Thomas Frank has done an excellent job. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see whether they suffer like other second season syndrome. But for this season, they have done a sensational job, and he has been pinnacle to that. Because as I said, I think they'd have gone down prior to him being there. So Tottenham cannot look at him as in the guy that has got a pacemaker who, you know, he might not be at his best. He's at his best. You know, he's had all that time to prepare, to train, to make sure his body's in the best shape possible. Brentford have done everything they can to be looking after him. He's loving life in terms of there at the moment. And he's going to, you know, let's not forget, he didn't leave on the best of terms. So I'm not too sure. I mean, yes, okay, there is a talk of him coming back, but I think he's a model professional that won't bother him at all. So Tottenham have to keep him quiet to stifle a lot of what Brentford will look to do.
Yeah, and how do we keep him quiet? Is it a case of packing the midfield out, getting a Højbjerg or Bentancur, like you're sticking to him like a bad smell, or is it just a team thing? So as soon as Eriksen gets the ball, it's the press, and we play with a team press. How would you be going to stop Eriksen in this game?
I think we just need to close down the spaces, because that's how Eriksen likes to operate. He likes the space in front of him. He's, you know, a master passer of the ball. but we're going to have to watch the runners as well from Brentford. You know, they've got Brian Mbeumo, they've got Toney up front, you know, who can make the run for Eriksen's balls. So we just need to make sure that the defence on the day do their job properly in terms of marking the runners and the striker and just cutting off that space for Eriksen to operate in. You know, don't back off from Eriksen, because if you back off from Eriksen, he'll just slot a ball through, he'll get a cross in. So, you know, we need to shut him down every opportunity. As soon as he's on the ball, you know, you have someone on him. And this is a game where, you know, Winks, you know, we was talking about him earlier on, would have been perfect for Winks, because that would have been his job, right? Winks, you know, sorry, not Winks. What am I going on about? I was talking about Ollie Skipp. Yeah, Ollie Skipp, sorry, would have been perfect.
Thanks for clarifying that. I was about to have nightmares talking about Wings.
That's a major blooper, that one. Major blooper. Imagine Harry Winks. But yeah,
I'll put
you
that
know,
on the preview for you on Twitter. It'll be on Twitter and everywhere.
Yeah. Perhaps this love of Winks.
Secret love, yeah. But yeah, for someone like Skipp, you know, he just would not give him any space to breathe whatsoever. You know, you're on the ball, right? I'm on you like a flea on a dog. Yeah, I'm going to be on you. But that's what we need to do ultimately. You know, if you take out the engine of a car, it won't move. Same thing with Eriksen. You know, if we take him out of the game, they won't operate in the way they've been operating for the last 4 weeks. So it's not going to be an easy game, let's be honest. But I still think, I'll reiterate this from earlier on, I think we'll get the result we need tomorrow. I can't see us having another bad game the other day against Brighton. So, yeah, Eriksen. I am happy for Eriksen, if I'm being honest. I'm really happy. He was one of my favourite players at Spurs.
Yeah, same here.
When we had him, I absolutely adored him. And
it's very similar to Brentford now. When we had him, when he played well, we played well. When he didn't play well, it wasn't there.
Well, he was the missing glue, wasn't he?
Yeah.
At Brentford, you know, he was the missing glue. And he's just put that side together with that signing. Thomas Frank, I mean, he's pulled off a masterstroke, you know, from what Justin was saying earlier on as well. I think what he's done is amazing. But what Eriksen has done to come back from a near fatal incident on the pitch that time, and to repair himself and to be playing at, you know, at the highest level again, I think it's just amazing. It's an amazing story. So, yeah. Yes, I will always be a supporter of Eriksen, but not tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're all going to be hoping he has a day off, or we just completely shut him out of the game.
Yeah. I think for him as well, obviously, he's a footballer, he wants to play football. It was very, very nearly, much more than football was very, very nearly ended. But certainly football was ended. I'm surprised he's playing again, if I'm being honest. But Brentford gave him a chance, so he wants to repay that. And boy, is he... Alan Harris saying, hoping he has a cold. If he has a cold, you can get Sudafed, so he'll still be able to play those balls through, so that won't make a difference. But Mark, predictions for the game. Personally, you know me, I can't give the scoreline prediction because I haven't.
You're going to make me?
Yeah, I'm going to make everybody, but you know, I'm not doing it because I'm a coward. So if you want to be a coward, you can just talk about the game. I think we'll win because I think the game will be a lot more open because Brentford will want to attack. But like I think it was Hass said earlier, it'll be a tight game. It won't be like a 4-0 like the Villa game was. I don't think it'll be one goal in it. Maybe it could even be a draw. But key is stopping Eriksen playing, and hopefully they attack, leave some space, and Kane can do his stuff. And hopefully the Brighton game was down to Conte not being involved with training other players because of COVID, and Kane going across the world, and then hopefully back to standard now with Kane not having travelled, Conte being with the players all game. But it'll be very interesting what happens in that Arsenal United game, whether that affects us. But like Nick Collinson said, just focus on ourselves and stop Eriksen playing and try and get Kane in the game. But I think we'll win, but I'm not going to give a scoreline. So what's your scoreline?
Well, I think Man United are going to win 2-1. And I also think, I know I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but do you know what? I'm going to go 3-0 Tottenham. It wasn't easy against Aston Villa. We won 4-0. So,
we say it's going to be a close game, but then if we get a goal, Like Haas, I think it was Haas said they're chasing the game, and then like we saw against Villa, we can pick them off.
I think they're safe. Look, Brentford are safe.
Yeah.
They've been playing really well. You know what happens when famous fucking last words here, but when teams are on them sort of runs of spell, they're unbeaten in 6, right? I just think we need to fight for this, and I think Conte's the type of manager who's going to not let us dwell on the Brighton game, and I think we're going to come out all guns blazing, and I think we'll win 3-0. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I hope so. I want us to start quickly. Justin, predictions and scoreline predictions from you?
Well, I'm not as optimistic as Mark in either result, because I mean, I do think with the United game, it will just depend if Ronaldo turns up, because clearly we've seen with the others that, you know, they can't turn up at the moment. I think the season's done. Yes, okay, maybe Ten Hag being there might change things now because they know who they're actually playing for. So he's actually going to be watching them, and I think Rangnick will still be in the background, so that could have a change. Personally, I think it'll be 2-1 to Arsenal, and I hate to say it, but I think we'll draw against Brentford because I think we'll put in a better shift, but I reckon it'll be a 2-2 draw.
Interesting. I mean, that would be proper squeaky bum time. Haas, for you?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Chris, I'll make this short and sweet. I know you've got work at 2:00, so and I've got to shoot off as well. I'm going to say 2-1 to United and 2-0 to Spurs.
I think as long as we win, doesn't matter what happens elsewhere, and it's in our hands. I personally think we can get a result at Anfield. I think we'll come to that nearer the time. But what we did at White Hart Lane, creating 6 clear-cut chances, I think they'll be a little bit wary. Certainly that they're going for all 4 now and don't want to slip up anywhere. But yeah, we just need to win tomorrow. And then, I mean, you can always look at, hopefully the results go our way, but you've primarily got to sort yourself out first and then look at results going your way. But yeah, and someone said in the chat, we either play after or the same time as Arsenal from all the games now. But again, we do what we need to do. We win all of our games. We're 4th, and it doesn't matter. And then whether that gets 3rd remains to be seen. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. Thanks all 3 of you for coming on. Haas, especially, I know you said early on, I've only got half hour. It's amazing what talking about Spurs will do. Yeah,
I knew this would happen.
It's happened to us all. I can guarantee. But yeah, Justin, All Things Tottenham is the YouTube channel you're on. Where can people find that? It's in the description anyway. But
yeah, so basically it's on YouTube. It's on all major sort of recording platforms. Obviously, I do this with yourself and do a lot of things with Tommy. I think me and Haas have now just become the regulars on Tommy's show on Sundays. So hopefully this Sunday it'll be more cheerful than last one. But yeah, as I say, definitely. But yeah, you've got my Twitter handle there, so give us a follow.
That's in the description as well.
And then obviously, anything to chat about Spurs, more than happy to do it.
Excellent. Yeah, everyone's Twitter handle is in the description. Haas there, that's his Instagram handle, I think. Haas Cooks Turkish 2022. So give him a follow there as well. No YouTube channel for you, but one's potentially coming.
Next season, hopefully. So this season's a bit of a write-off, but next season I've got plans for a YouTube channel. It's all in the works. So yeah, 2022-23 season. Keep an eye out. But you guys will be the first to know. So yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, follow Haas on Instagram there and Twitter as well, and you'll be the second to know when that's coming up the YouTube channel. Mark, no YouTube channel, but a podcast. Where can people find that?
They can't because we never do them. I told you, Chris.
But no.
Everywhere you get your podcast. I've just
let me rephrase that. Mark, you do a podcast. Where can people find the backlog?
Everywhere you find your podcast. I have just text Mac to say, should we do one this week? So hopefully we'll put one out tomorrow. But you can find me here talking to Chris occasionally and on Tommy's as well. So yeah, it's good to chat Spurs with all of you, and hopefully we'll have one out this Saturday.
Yeah, it's always the Friday is the optimistic one, and then Monday is the for God's sake,
it's the dreaded day. Yeah,
but yeah, hopefully, like you say, Haas. win, loss we've had. So hopefully after this loss, we get a win. But yeah, be back on Monday. That'll be on Tommy's channel, Hotspur Hood. So make sure you catch us there, 7:30, 7:30 p.m. UK time. And then we'll be back on Friday, usual time here, 12:30 p.m. UK time on Let's Talk Tottenham. So yeah, give both of those channels a follow. Please hit the like on this stream. Please hit the like and subscribe. Really helps the channel. Notification bell as well. That'll give you a notification free of charge. It doesn't cost you anything. Takes less than a second. And you're helping a channel. You're helping a community as well. And Spurs community, which is fantastic. So yeah, really helps the channel. Then go on to All Things Tottenham, do the same there, and then go and follow all of these guys. Go on Mark's podcast as well, and you know, listen to podcasts from a happier time, which presumably isn't this season, because apart from potentially on Sunday, hopefully talk about a win against Brentford. So yeah, be back on Tommy's channel, Hotspur Hood, on Monday. Hopefully talk about a win. So until then, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on.
Thank you so much for watching, and to everybody who joined in the live chat. Before you go, please leave a like, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. It's all free and you'll be notified when we go live. Anyone who missed the live stream can still watch the replay on YouTube, and any comments, questions or suggestions on the comments there. For anyone listening to the audio only podcast, thank you so much for listening. Anyone who wants that podcast, you get that wherever you get your podcast from. Alternatively, go to our Twitter or Instagram page on the screen. We'll be back on Monday on the Hotspur Hood YouTube channel. Give them a subscribe. We're there at 7:30 p.m. UK time. And we're on this channel, Let's Talk Tottenham, 12:30 p.m. UK time again on